Cely is coming up with some interesting optics these days. This is the Wolf EDG, and it is an enclosed emitter dot RMR footprint. We're testing it out today. We're also testing out this suppressor. That video will be coming soon. I am digging the newest setup on the Gucci Glock on a budget build, the PSA dagger here. We traded the comp for a suppressor. This is the Ramblin' Man from Resilient Suppressors. In its short configuration, we'll have a full review on this coming very soon. But also, Cely's newest red dot, which is the right kind of closed emitter red dot. When I say the right kind, I mean this. They sent me this like last year sometime. And this is kind of like a Aimpoint Acro P2 type of clone. Big mailbox, and I'm not really a big fan. What I like is like the Holosun EPS here that I've been putting on quite a few pistols, and this is that style of closed emitter red dot, where you actually, it's pretty much, designed like a regular red dot, but enclosed, so you still get a nice big window. And this one is an RMR footprint, and so right there, that kind of makes it more compatible on most full-size pistols than the Holosun EPS is. So far, so good with the Wolf EDG and also the Resilient Ramblin' Man in the short configuration. This is the first time I've tried to suppress this pistol, and with their own piston and booster setup, it seems to be cycling really well. I had a really fun time at the range today. In fact, I had a really fun weekend in general. I went to the Guffey's right here, Gun and Pawn range day yesterday. I won a new pistol. I never win anything, so that'll be on the channel very soon. Got to shoot a bunch of full auto MP5s, which is very exciting. All kinds of other stuff. That video will be Friday. And then today, I got to shoot this pistol, a pistol I've shot quite a bit before, but it seems to always change its configuration. I'm always testing new red dots and stuff on it, and decided to test this suppressor on it as well. Again, video coming soon. But the biggest reason I was out there today was to test this red dot. Now, I've done a lot of pistol optic reviews on this channel, and a lot of them, there's not a whole lot you could say about them. They're pistol optics. They do pistol optic things, right? Well, my favorite pistol optic, and I've said this many times, is the Holosun EPS. The EPS full size and the EPS carry. I like that style of closed emitter dot. I feel like that's the right way to do a closed emitter. And you can fight me about it if you want down in the comments, but I just don't like these big mailboxes where you feel like you're looking through a little tube. It's just not my favorite style. They work fine, but you just see a lot of, optic housing in your sight picture, in my opinion. Yes, I know if you're target focused, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? This style works better for me personally. And so when Cely sent this to me, I was actually pretty excited about it. I've had it for a little while now. I've just had a lot of other videos that were scheduled before I got this, and so I'm finally able to do this review. It is RMR cut footprint. That is a big deal. Now, we're going to try not to keep comparing it to the Holosun EPS here, but the Holosun EPS, even though it's a full-size red dot, uses the RMSC or the Holosun K micro footprint. You're going to put a full-size EPS on a full-size pistol. Most full-size pistols, if they're not modular optic system with plates, well, they're going to be cut for the RMR footprint, just like this one. And so this direct mounted to the slide, and it has the same kind of all of the benefits of the Holosun EPS. Now, is it going to be as reliable? Is it going to last as long? With a lot of these fly-by-night new Chinese optic companies, I would say kind of like, who knows? Well, Cely has been around now for a while. I think that they are a step above a lot of these other new optic companies on the market. They seem to be really listening to what their customers want and coming out with new optic designs all the time. This video is sponsored by Venice AI. Do you ever wonder what ChatGPT does with your conversations? We all know that our phones, Alexa, everything like that, listens to our conversations and then advertises to us based on what we say. Well, what else are these things doing with our personal information? They're selling it to third parties, including governments. In fact, the director of the NSA, the former director, is now sitting on the board of ChatGPT, which is why I'm using Venice AI. Venice AI is an AI software. It uses open source software that you don't have to download. It goes straight to your web browser, but the biggest thing is that it's private and permissionless. And so you don't have to worry about them selling your information to anybody else, which is kind of why it's a big deal to me. I like privacy, even though I show everything that I do on a YouTube channel. My daughter, she's 13. She uses AI for all kinds of things these days. She's been writing stories with it. She's been making music with it. It is incredible what you can do with AI. It's a very powerful tool, but keep your privacy while you use it with Venice AI. I like the Pro plan personally. It just gives you a lot more that you can do, and you can get a 20% off on your Pro plan if you sign up using my link. That is venice.ai/sawtooth-tactical. Use that code to get 20% off. The code is Sawtooth Tactical. We're at about 25 yards here. The one thing with this suppressor is even with these higher iron sights, I cannot see over the can, making the optic kind of necessary. So check it out here. Enclosed emitter red dot. You have glass on the front, you have glass on the rear, and it's a very big window. In fact, I'm going to take off this suppressor here just so that it is a little bit easier to show you guys everything with the tabletop view that we got going on here. Look at that window size. Now that is really nice. Now it is dirty as hell because that's what happens when you shoot suppressed. I mean, this gun is filthy now. It's, we'll see how it turns out once I clean it, but that's what shooting suppressed does. And so the optic did get a lot of crap on the window today from shooting, and this pistol doesn't even have like a loaded chamber indicator or anything. You just get a lot of gases back through the bore, through the breech there when you're shooting suppressed. But you know what? It didn't affect my ability to shoot at all. And the big thing with this, even with these, optic height iron sights or suppressor height sights, they call them suppressor height, but you know what? I could not see them over the suppressor. So having this optic made a very big difference today. It was absolutely necessary. And it made it really easy to shoot well, even with the suppressor. It only took me 3 rounds to zero the optic. It was pretty much right on just from laser bore sighting it at home. I shot 1 round, adjusted it up and to the right, shot another round and adjusted it down and to the left. And that was pretty much right on. So, the laser bore sight actually did a pretty good job today. But take a look at the deck height on this thing. It is nice and low. Now, these are taller iron sights than your standard ones, but they're not true, like, big suppressor height sights. And, you could definitely co-witness these sights through the optic, no problem. It has, your standard up and down for, your brightness level, right where you would expect it. It has your windage and elevation, right where you would expect them. They are 1 MOA clicks, and they send you a nice wrench for it. Now, this is one of these things, might seem like no big deal to you, but I've gotten all these pistol optics, and some of them send these wrenches that are just terrible. This one is actually pretty good. Use this one, to tighten your screws down, and this one to adjust your windage and elevation. And when it comes to screws, they send you screws. You get stickers, patches, lens cloth, which I'm going to be using right now because this optic is filthy. And give you guys an idea of what it really looks like looking through it, because it's actually a pretty clean sight picture. Now you can see that looks a lot better. But yeah, you get all your standard stuff in here, how to zero it, you know, your manual, all the stuff that if you've been running pistol red dots for a while, you probably don't even need to look at. Check out how many screws they send you. This is a whole bag of Optic screws. So no matter what pistol you're putting this thing on, you're gonna have the right screws for it. And that is definitely appreciated. Now, it is almost a little bit overwhelming. You have so many screws to try to go through to find the right ones. I just kind of matched it with the screws that came out of the Optic that was on here before this one, and no problem. It is nice. Again, not to keep comparing it to the Holosun EPS, but the EPS didn't come with the screws I needed, and I had to steal them from a different Optic. This Optic, well, it comes with everything you need right out of the box, and that is very nice. All black. It has a battery tray that comes out, so you don't have to remove the Optic to change your battery. And the big thing is it is enclosed emitter. A lot of people really want enclosed emitter red dots these days. And to be honest, I'm going to tell you exactly why right now. Like I said earlier, I was at Guffey's Range Day yesterday. They had one of their stations. They had a plate rack that you could clear, and they had a number of pistols you could choose. Of course, I chose the Wilson Combat with the Trijicon RMR on it. But you know what? I had trouble doing that plate rack because it was pouring rain, and the rain was making all of the open emitter optics almost unusable. And so having a closed emitter like this would have worked great there yesterday, and I probably would have done much better at the plate rack. I think this is my new favorite setup for this pistol. This pistol has gone through more changes than any of my other handguns. It's just the one I use to test stuff. It's a PSA dagger build, but with the enclosed emitter optic and the suppressor, this thing is pretty sweet. You may have heard me in the past on this channel saying that I don't necessarily think an enclosed emitter red dot is necessary on a pistol. It's just kind of a luxury, a nice thing to have. Except that I've always believed that it's really good to have on a carry gun so that it doesn't fill up with lint and stuff when you're carrying it. Well, yesterday proved to me why you want an enclosed emitter on your full-size pistols as well. Like I said, trying to clear a plate rack with an RMR that was getting poured rain in all day, I could barely use the Optic, and it made it much more difficult than it should have been, and I was a little bit embarrassed with my performance there. You know, in fact, they even told me, like, aren't you a gun tuber? Don't you shoot guns for a living? Well, no, I manage a heavy equipment rental place for a living, but I do this for fun. Either way, the point being, it showed me right there why you want an enclosed emitter on your full-size guns. If I had had this Optic, shooting that plate rack would have been much easier. And the thing about it is this. If I had had this Optic, I'm not so sure I would say the same thing. Being that it was so rainy and everything else, I mean, yes, at least with this, your emitter is not going to get full of rain and blocked. But I'm not a big fan of the little tube, you know, sight picture that you get with something like this. And I'm not just talking about this Cely Optic, the bear here. You know, Aimpoint Acro P2 I have used on multiple different pistols, and I feel the same way about that. So I'm not talking about low tier, high tier, or anything like that. I'm just not a big fan of this style of optic. I am a big fan of this style of optic. And it worked really well for me today. It worked really well, again, with the suppressor, which if you've shot pistols suppressed, then you know that they, you know, block part of your sight picture. You have this big old thing in front of you. And even with the Optic, yes, it blocks a little bit of the sight picture here. The cool thing about a red dot is just the way that a red dot works. I mean, with no parallax, you could just, you know, bring your head up a little bit and have your dot above the line of sight of that is getting blocked by the suppressor and put it on your target just fine, 2 eyes open, and it works really, really well. I know this is an optic review, but These are just 124 grain, nothing subsonic here, regular supersonic 9mm loads, but let's see how it sounds just shooting into the mountainside a couple times. I chose to try this suppressor out on this pistol for the first time at the same time as I was testing this optic for a very specific reason. For one, I'm working on the review for this suppressor at the same time. That video will be out next week. But for two, you need an optic, I think, to really run a suppressed pistol. And you need a good optic just in general. I like to have a good sight picture, a big window, and honestly, an enclosed emitter. And this one gives you all that. The window is just as good, just as big as any open emitter red dots that I've used, which is pretty sweet. You know what the other thing that's pretty sweet is the price of this thing. And that's where Cely is winning. Now, they're not the cheapest red dot on the market. There are companies you've never heard of that make cheaper red dots. These guys, I think, and I truly do believe this, are following in Holosun's footsteps in a lot of ways. Holosun, when they first came out, was considered Chinese garbage compared to brands like Trijicon with the RMR. Now, they are totally respected and totally trusted by most people that use them. I've got a ton of them. They work great. I've gotten the opportunity to use a lot of these Cely optics now too. And Cely is priced just below Holosun, but a little bit above some of the no-name brands you've never heard of. And Cely is actually innovating and listening to their customer base and producing the optics that people want. And I have had a Cely optic that did stop working. It wasn't this one. And this optic is going to stay on this pistol now for a while. And I'll let you guys know if it stops working. But I've got a good feeling about it so far. And we'll see. I've got one range day under its belt so far, but it's going to stay on this gun because I like this style of optic. I like the closed emitter, but this style of closed emitter instead of this big mailbox style. And so this is going to stay on here. And so is this. Well, actually, this is going to go on this next week. But the point being, when I shoot this pistol, it's going to be suppressed now because when I got this pistol, when I put it together, it had a threaded barrel. But I didn't have a pistol suppressor, and now I do. And man, all of these modern creature comforts sure do make the shooting experience better. Things like a decent light, a suppressor, a good enclosed emitter optic, and this thing comes in at a really affordable price point. Less than $300, which is about $150 cheaper than the Holosun EPS, which is, in my opinion, its direct competitor. And this has been a good weekend. Yesterday, I was at the Guffey's range day. That video will be coming on Friday. Got to shoot full auto MP5s. I won a new pistol. That'll be on the channel soon too. And today, I'm shooting this suppressor for the first time and a new closed emitter optic from Cely. I'm a happy camper. It's beautiful out here. Pretty sweet clandestine setup here. It only took me 3 rounds to zero this optic, and it seems to be pretty well on. I really like closed emitters, and this one comes in at a pretty affordable price. I want to know what you guys think though, because I know that people have opinions about Cely red dots. They've been on the market long enough. They are a recognizable name at this point. A lot of people have their optics. A lot of PSA dagger owners run Cely optics. It makes sense, right? Cheaper Glock clone, cheaper Holosun clone, kind of. I'm sure Cely wouldn't like me saying that they're a Holosun clone, but you know what I mean. It's a more affordable pistol red dot. But they don't just make basic open emitter dots anymore. They make all kinds of designs, and this is my favorite. It does also, so you see at the top here, like they have actually designed it in to be totally like bomb proof. They call it drop proof. And it is also submergible. Submergible. It's got a 3 MOA dot. It's got 50,000 hours of battery life, 1 MOA clicks of adjustment, all of the standard stuff that you look for in a red dot, but also enclosed emitter, RMR footprint. I mean, it's kind of everything that you want, and it comes in at a pretty decent price point. So I want to know what you guys think about this though. A lot of people have experience with these now. What has your experience been? Have your Cely red dots been reliable? Because I've gotten like 5 or 6 of them at this point, and one of them failed. All the rest have done great. The one that failed sat in a glass of water submerged for quite a while. That one was like totally torture tested. It was dropped, it was frozen, it was submerged, you know, like all the ones that I've just used on pistols as red dots and shot them like I would with any of my other optics have worked out great. And so I assume this one will as well. If anything changes, I will give you guys an update. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. We have got so much good stuff coming that I am excited about. You know, MP5 build, pretty much done. We've got a suppressor review for a new suppressor. I've got a new pistol that I can't even show you guys yet. We've got a lot going on here on Sawtooth Tactical right now, so make sure you're subscribed. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.